I would compliment you too, Jason said with a smirk, but you don't look so good right now. That exact line shattered my world. He was standing there, beside my wife Alyssa, my cheating wife, speaking like he owned the room. Like none of it mattered. Like my daughter wasn't passed out in the corner of that video, surrounded by strangers. Strangers he brought in. Strangers my wife didn't stop. I watched the footage over and over, trying to convince myself there was some explanation. That I was wrong. That this wasn't what it looked like. But no, it was exactly what it looked like. Let me rewind. That night, I got an anonymous email. No subject, no sender, just a link and the words, "You need to see what she's been hiding." Normally, I'd ignore something like that. But something in me clicked. Alyssa had been acting different for months. Cold. Distant. She had this way of brushing me off like I was a burden. I thought it was burnout, or maybe we just needed a vacation. I even planned a surprise trip last month. She canceled last minute because of work. She never mentioned Jason once. But he was all over that video. I clicked the link. The video opened on a girl, my daughter, Emily, sitting on a couch, dazed. Her head was bobbing like she could barely stay awake. Then Jason appeared. He leaned in, whispered something, and snapped his fingers. That's when two other men entered the frame. It was like a punch to my gut. Then Alyssa entered, laughing, smiling. She walked over to Jason, kissed him on the cheek, then sat down beside him like she belonged there. And that's when he said it. "Your daughter is amazing. I would compliment you too, but you don't look so good right now." Like it was a joke. Like this was funny. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, my hands shaking. I paused the video right on her face. That smug, heartless look. I didn't recognize her anymore. The woman in that video wasn't the Alyssa I married. She was something else, cold, while empty. I didn't even realize I had stood up. I was pacing the room like a wild animal. My phone slipped from my hand. I just stood there, staring at the pause screen. I wanted to scream, to break something. But all I felt was this suffocating pressure, this hollow rage building in my chest. I should have seen it sooner. The late nights. The way she stopped touching me, stopped even looking at me like a person. The way she started dressing up just to go to the store. Her phone never left her hand. She'd lock herself in the bathroom for an hour just to scroll. And when I asked, I was paranoid, insecure, clingy. No, Alyssa, I wasn't paranoid. I just didn't want to believe the truth. That night, I waited in the living room until she came home. 2:17 a.m. Hair messy, lipstick smudged. She reeked of alcohol and someone else's cologne. "Oh, you're still up?" She slurred like she didn't care. Like she didn't just leave our daughter in pieces. Like she wasn't the reason everything was about to explode. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed the remote and played the video. Her face twisted, but not in guilt. No. She looked annoyed. "Seriously? You're spying on me now?" she snapped. "This is pathetic, Mark." I looked her straight in the eyes and whispered, "You let him touch our daughter." She paused. Not shocked. Just irritated. "You have no idea what you're talking about." That's when I realized she wasn't going to deny it. She wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't even going to pretend to care. She walked past me like nothing happened. I stood frozen, the video still playing on loop behind me. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was war. Alyssa disappeared into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her like I was the one who ruined the night. The living room was still lit only by the cold, flickering light of the paused video. Emily's lifeless expression stared back at me from the screen, a frozen echo of the hell that had just unfolded. My daughter. My little girl. She trusted her mother, and this is what she got in return. I sat down, but the couch felt foreign beneath me. Everything felt foreign now. My own home had turned into a crime scene, and the woman I once loved had become the monster behind it. But here's the thing, I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart. I planned. Because this wasn't just a betrayal. This was something darker. Something criminal. And I needed to play this smart. First, I made a copy of the video. Actually, 5 copies. Flash drives, a cloud backup, one even hidden on a dummy email. I didn't trust anyone anymore, especially not Alyssa. She'd lied to my face so many times, I wouldn't put it past her to erase the evidence and gaslight me until I questioned my own memory. I needed someone I could trust. There was only one person who came to mind, my brother, Jake. Ex-military. No BS. Loyal to a fault. I called him, my voice low, calm. "Jake, I need you here. Now." 10 minutes later, He pulled into my driveway without a single question. The moment he saw my face, his expression changed. What the hell happened? I played him the video. He didn't say a word until it ended. Then he stood up slowly and cracked his knuckles. You want me to take care of him? No, I said. Not yet. He raised an eyebrow. You planning to involve the cops? I shook my head. Eventually. But I want answers first. I want her to tell me to my face what she did. I want her to squirm. He nodded. Then let's do it right. Record everything. We set up a mic in the living room. Discreet, hidden behind a lamp. Alyssa had no idea what was coming. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of screaming and falling apart like some broken husband. No, I wanted control. And I was going to take it back, piece by piece. Jake stayed hidden in the guest room, listening in through his phone. I knocked on the bedroom door. Calm. Measured. Alyssa, we need to talk. No answer. I knocked again harder. Open the door. A few seconds passed before she yanked it open. Her eyes were bloodshot, her mascara smeared. But still, that arrogant smirk lingered on her lips. I don't have time for another one of your little tantrums, Mark. I stepped aside. Then make time. Sit. She rolled her eyes, but followed me to the living room. I hit play again. Just the clip. 30 seconds. No sound this time. Just her face. Jason's voice I could recite from memory now. Your daughter is amazing. She flinched slightly. Barely. Then she scoffed. I told you already. You're overreacting. You don't even know what you saw. Then explain it to me. She crossed her arms. Emily was fine. She just had too much to drink. Jason was joking. I laughed. A cold, hollow sound. So now drugging a teenager and bringing in 2 men is a joke. She wasn't drugged. She couldn't walk. She's dramatic. I stood, my voice like steel. Alyssa, I swear to God, if you don't tell me the truth right now. The truth. She laughed bitterly. You want the truth? Fine. You were never enough for me, Mark. You were always boring, predictable. Jason made me feel alive again. And if that makes me a bad mother, then so be it. I froze. Not because she said it. Because she meant it. Jake burst out from the guest room before I could even speak. His eyes wild. You're lucky I don't put you through a wall. Alyssa shrieked and jumped to her feet. What the hell? You're recording me. You bet your damn life I am, Jake growled. I stepped forward. Calm. Controlled. You're done, Alyssa. Done lying. Done pretending. Tomorrow, you're moving out. And I'm filing for full custody. She stared at me, pale, her mouth slightly open. Mark, don't do this. You already did. The next morning was quieter than it had any right to be. No shouting, no slammed doors, just silence. The kind of silence that only comes when something inside you has already died. Alyssa hadn't left the bedroom. I didn't care. Jake was in the kitchen, drinking black coffee like it was war fuel. I barely touched mine. I wasn't tired. I wasn't even angry. I was wired, laser-focused. I had one goal now. Protect Emily and burn Alyssa's mask to ash. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, drafting the message to my lawyer. I was going for the throat. Full custody, restraining order, and criminal charges if it came to that. The footage made everything real. Concrete. And even if the courts didn't care about emotional betrayal, they sure as hell would care about what Jason did, and Alyssa's silent approval. Then, like a horror movie cue, she stepped into the room. Alyssa, no makeup, hair unwashed, wearing my old hoodie like she was still part of this family. But her eyes, they didn't have shame in them. Just calculation. You're making a mistake, she said, pouring herself coffee like this was a normal Thursday. I didn't even look up. Get your things ready. I want you out by tonight. She sat down across from me and folded her hands like we were negotiating. You're really going to blow up your life over a video you don't even understand. Jake chuckled bitterly. Lady, the only thing misunderstood here is how you're not in handcuffs yet. Alyssa's eyes narrowed. You bringing backup now? That's cute. I stared at her. You're stalling. You're trying to twist this, like you always do. But it's done. You crossed a line that no one comes back from. She leaned in slightly. Emily doesn't know anything. You drag this into court, you ruin her life too. That hit me. She knew exactly where to strike. I clenched my jaw. You already ruined it. I'm just cleaning the mess. She dropped her voice low, sharp like a dagger. If you push me out, I swear to God, I'll tell them you were abusive. I'll say you hit me. You know how this works, Mark. A man's guilty until proven innocent. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. Jake stood up so fast the chair almost flipped. You witch. I raised a hand to stop him. Then I turned back to Alyssa and smiled. Cold. Final. I've got the video, Alyssa. I've got the audio from last night. Try it. I dare you. She blinked. For once, she didn't have a comeback. You think I didn't prepare for this? I continued. I'm done letting you write the script. You wanted to play games? You picked the wrong opponent. She stood up and slammed her mug in the sink. You don't scare me. You should be scared, I said quietly. Not of me, but of the truth. Jake followed her with his eyes as she stormed back upstairs. I turned to him. Help me change the locks. Today. Gladly, he muttered. By noon, the locksmith had arrived. Alyssa came down to see the new deadbolt being installed and nearly lost it. You can't lock me out of my house. It's not your house anymore, I said. Lawyer's already drawing up the papers. You'll get your share. But you're gone. You can't do this to me. You did it to yourself. She tried to slap me. Jake caught her wrist midair and shoved her back half a step. Try it again. I'll call the cops myself. She stood there for a second, just breathing, like she was about to explode. Then she grabbed her purse and keys and marched toward the door. But before she left, she turned and hissed, You haven't seen the last of me. I laughed once. I hope not. Next time, it'll be in court. The door slammed behind her. Jake exhaled deeply. Think she'll come back? He asked. Oh yeah, I said. But next time, she won't be able to talk her way out. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice. And I was ready to take it all the way. 3 days passed. Alyssa didn't come back, not physically, but her venom did. On the morning of the 4th day, I opened my email to find a message from Child Services. Someone had reported me for emotional instability and creating a dangerous environment for a minor. They even claimed I'd threatened violence against my own daughter. I didn't need to guess who was behind it. I called the social worker directly. I was calm, clear, and backed every word with evidence. I sent over the video, the audio recordings, and a signed statement from Jake. The tone on the other end of the call changed instantly. Professional, but now with a trace of sympathy. Mr. Dawson, she said, based on what you've sent, I assure you will be investigating her, not you. But it still shook me. Alyssa had gone nuclear. She'd rather burn the world than take responsibility. And it was working. She was trying to twist the narrative, control the optics. That's when I knew I had to go public. Not to the world, just to the right people. I called Emily's school and requested a meeting with the counselor. I sat there and told her the truth, at least the part Emily could eventually know. That her mother had been involved in something dangerous. That Emily had been exposed to an unsafe environment. That I was doing everything I could to protect her. And then came the hardest part. I had to talk to Emily. She was still staying with my sister, thinking I was just handling some adult stuff. She was confused, scared, and worst of all, loyal to her mother. I picked her up from my sister's house that night. She ran out smiling, but there was hesitation in her eyes. She wasn't stupid. She felt the tension in the air, the silence in the spaces Alyssa used to fill. Back home, I made her hot cocoa, like I used to when she had nightmares. Dad, she said finally, is Mom coming back? I froze. How do you explain to a 14-year-old that her mother isn't just gone? She's a monster in disguise. Emily, I said gently, some things happen that you don't fully understand yet. And I promise, when the time is right, I'll explain everything. But right now, I need you to know I love you. And I'm here to protect you. She looked down into her cup, her voice barely above a whisper. Did she cheat on you? I felt my heart stop. I couldn't lie. Not now. Not anymore. Yes, I said. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just nodded slowly, then said, I figured. She's been different for a long time. That hit harder than anything Alyssa ever did. Emily knew. She'd felt it. And she had been silently suffering in the background while I was trying to pretend our family wasn't collapsing. Later that night, after she went to bed, I went outside with Jake and stood on the porch in the cold. We didn't say anything for a while. Just listened to the wind. She'll come at you again, Jake said finally. Harder. I know. Are you ready for that? I nodded. Let her come. I've got nothing left to lose. Jake stared at me. You've got Emily. That was the moment everything shifted in my head. It wasn't about Alyssa anymore. It wasn't about revenge or ego or broken pride. It was about saving my daughter from the fire Alyssa set. The next day, my lawyer called. You're going to want to hear this, he said. We subpoenaed Jason's phone. There are texts. Dozens of them. And one of them, she admits it all. What do you mean? She says she slipped something into Emily's drink to calm her down. She even joked about Jason training her for fun. I didn't even respond. I hung up. I walked into Emily's room, watched her sleep for a second, and made a silent promise. I'm going to destroy Alyssa. Not out of hate. Out of love. Because this ends my way. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, reading those text messages over and over. Every word Alyssa had written felt like another nail in the coffin of the woman I thought I married. Jokes about Emily. About Jason. About how I would never grow a spine. She even said, if he finds out, I'll just cry and blame his temper. He'll believe anything. She thought I was weak. Pathetic. A pawn in her twisted little game. But the game had changed, and I wasn't playing by her rules anymore. I forwarded the evidence to my lawyer, my backup email, and even Jake. I wanted a digital fortress around me. Then I sent one final copy to a burner phone, because if this war turned physical, if something happened to me, I wanted someone to know exactly where to look. The next morning, I filed the emergency motion for custody. The moment the clerk saw the text about Emily's drink, her entire demeanor changed. I wasn't just another angry father trying to smear an ex. I was the only parent standing between a child and something truly sick. They moved fast. Real fast. By 4 p.m., Alyssa was served a temporary restraining order and an order to appear in court within 72 hours. She wasn't allowed within 300 feet of Emily or the house. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. But it didn't last. That night, around 11:30 p.m., headlights lit up my street. I looked out the window and saw her. Alyssa. She wasn't alone. Jason was in the driver's seat, grinning like a man who thought nothing could touch him. Alyssa stepped out slowly, heels clicking on the pavement, a thin white dress fluttering in the wind. She looked like a damn ghost. I opened the front door, but didn't step out. I just stood there, arms crossed. She walked halfway up the driveway, just enough to trigger the new security cameras I'd installed. You're not supposed to be here, I said. She smiled sweetly. I just wanted to talk. One last time. No lawyers. No cops. Jason leaned against the car. We thought maybe we could handle this like adults. I stepped outside, heart pounding but voice steady. Adults don't drug kids. Alyssa's smile twitched. You misunderstood. No, I cut her off. I saw the messages. Every sick joke. Every plan. Every lie. It's over. Jason stepped forward, chest puffed. You think a little text message is gonna hold up in court? I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit play. Her voice, Alyssa's, filled the quiet night air. If he finds out, I'll just cry and blame his temper. He'll believe anything. Jason's grin cracked. Alyssa's eyes widened. Leave, I said. Alyssa's voice dropped. You don't scare me, Mark. You never did. You're just a sad little man trying to look tough for a kid who'll hate you when she finds out the truth. I didn't flinch. She already knows who you are, and she'll never be near you again. I turned and walked back into the house. Locked the door. Called the police. They arrived 10 minutes later. Jason's car was still parked outside, but empty. A neighbor had snapped a photo of the plate. The officer nodded. We'll follow up. You did the right thing. But I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I walked into Emily's room. She was still asleep, but she'd kicked her blanket off. I tucked her back in gently, and I whispered, I promise you she'll never hurt you again. Back in the hallway, I finally let myself break, just a little. Not because I was weak, but because I needed to let the fire burn, just for a moment. Because tomorrow, I had to be still again. For Emily. Because this wasn't over. Court was coming, and I wanted Alyssa to feel everything she made us feel. Pain, fear, powerlessness, but most of all loss. The courthouse smelled like dust and cold metal. Sterile, lifeless, just like the way Alyssa had looked at me for the last year of our marriage, like I was a fixture in the background, not a human being. But today, that cold gaze would be turned on her, and I'd be the one holding the match. Jake was waiting for me on the courthouse steps. Suit, sunglasses, jaw clenched. He looked more like security than support, but that's what I needed him to be. You ready? He asked. More than ever. Inside, I spotted Alyssa sitting with her lawyer. She was all dolled up. Perfect makeup. Hair curled. Pearl earrings. She even wore light pink, like she was trying to look soft, motherly, innocent. But her eyes were hollow. And when she saw me walk in, there was a flicker, just a flicker, of something she couldn't hide. Fear. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s. Sharp eyes. She scanned through the files in front of her, adjusted her glasses, and got straight to it. Mr. Dawson, you're requesting emergency full custody of your daughter, citing abuse and endangerment. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Let's proceed. I handed over everything. The video, the audio, the screenshots of texts. My lawyer had prepared it all in a clean, chronological binder with tabs and timestamps. I didn't say a word unless asked. I didn't break down. I didn't rant. I let the evidence speak. And when it did, it screamed. Alyssa's lawyer tried to object to the video, calling it unauthorized surveillance. The judge didn't blink. The child in question is clearly incapacitated. That's not surveillance. That's protection. Then came Alyssa's turn. She stood up, crocodile tears in her eyes, and gave the performance of her life. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. I would never hurt my daughter. I was just trying to give her space to relax. She was having anxiety, and Jason offered to talk to her. I wasn't thinking clearly. Mark's always been aggressive. He's twisting this to get revenge. Jake scoffed under his breath. The judge held up a printout. This message here, where you say, if he finds out, I'll just cry and blame his temper. How do you explain that? Alyssa blinked. Her lawyer tried to intercept. It was sarcasm, she said. The judge raised an eyebrow. Sarcasm? Alyssa nodded. I was venting. I didn't mean it. I watched her dig the hole deeper and deeper. Every excuse was like watching a drowning woman splash harder. Then the judge turned to me. Mr. Dawson, where is your daughter now? With my sister. Safe. And the child has not been in contact with Ms. Dawson since the order? No, Your Honor. She's afraid of her. The judge leaned back in her chair and sighed. This court is granting full temporary custody to Mr. Dawson, effective immediately. A criminal investigation will proceed separately based on the evidence provided. Visitation rights are suspended until further notice. Ms. Dawson, you are to remain at least 300 feet away from the child and the residence. Do you understand? Alyssa's face crumbled. This isn't fair, she shouted. He's turning her against me. The judge's voice cut through her tantrum like a blade. You did that yourself, Ms. Dawson. Security was already moving closer, and her lawyer was whispering desperately in her ear. I stood, not triumphant, not smug, just steady, because I wasn't celebrating a win. I was surviving a war. Alyssa glared at me as she was escorted out of the courtroom. That same fire was in her eyes, but it was flickering now, dimming. She knew she'd lost the upper hand. Jake clapped a hand on my shoulder. You did it, man. I nodded, but I didn't feel relief. Not yet, because there were still loose ends. Jason was next, and I had a plan for him, not in a courtroom, but face to face. After the court ruling, I thought I'd feel relief, closure, but what I felt was something darker, unfinished rage. Alyssa was legally out of Emily's life now, but there was still one name gnawing at my thoughts like rot beneath the surface. Jason. He hadn't shown up to court. Coward. He let Alyssa take the full blow, hiding in the shadows like the snake he was. But I couldn't let him slither away untouched. He wasn't just her side piece. He was the one who brought others into that room. The one who drugged my daughter. The one who smiled on that tape like it was all a damn game. So I found him. It didn't take long. A friend of Jake's at a private security firm traced his car to a cheap apartment downtown. No security. No cameras. Just a dumpy concrete block with flickering hallway lights and rusted mailboxes. It was the kind of place you go when you're trying not to be found. I didn't bring Jake this time. This was personal. I wore gloves. Not because I planned to do anything illegal. At least, not technically. I just didn't want to leave behind anything Jason could twist in his favor. I had learned from Alyssa. Always stay one step ahead. I knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, harder. I heard movement. Shuffling. Then finally, the door creaked open. Jason stood there in sweatpants and a faded hoodie, eyes bloodshot, stubble covering his face. He looked nothing like the smug bastard from that video. He squinted. Do I know? He didn't finish. I punched him, once, clean, right in the gut. He doubled over with a pathetic groan, gasping like a fish out of water. He fell back into the room, and I stepped in, locking the door behind me. Sit, I said. He looked up, wheezing. What the hell, man? I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him onto the stained couch. I'm not going to hit you again, I said. Unless you lie to me. His eyes darted around the room. You can't just. I can. And I will. I pulled out my phone and played the audio again. Your daughter is amazing, his voice, clear as day. He paled. Look, he stammered. That wasn't serious. I was just joking, man. It was Alyssa's idea. She told me to act cool, like I had it under control. You gave something to my daughter. I didn't know what it was, he blurted. It was just some pill Alyssa gave me. Said it would calm her down. She said the girl was being dramatic. I stepped closer. So you knew she was a minor. And you still gave her something. He swallowed hard. I didn't touch her. I swear. I just followed Alyssa's lead. She said it would be fun, that it was just some fantasy crap, nothing serious. I took a deep breath, trying not to lose control. My fists trembled. You're going to go to the police, I said. What? You're going to walk into that station and confess everything. Every text, every message. You're going to name Alyssa. You're going to tell them exactly what you just told me, on the record. He laughed, nervous, high-pitched. Are you insane? You think I'm going to do that? I'll go to jail. Good, I said. Because if you don't, I'm going to make sure your name, face, and voice are plastered across every parenting group, school board, and neighborhood app from here to the state line. I showed him my phone. A video. A backup copy. I've got 10 of these. In 10 places. And if you disappear, or if anything happens to me, they go live. He froze. I'll give you 48 hours, I said. Do it. Or I burn your life to the ground. I turned and walked to the door. You can't scare me, he croaked. I looked back. I'm not trying to scare you, Jason. I'm making you choose what kind of hell you want. And then I left. Back in my car, I exhaled slowly, gripping the wheel until my knuckles went white. I didn't know if he'd do it. I didn't care. Because one way or another, justice was coming. 2 days passed. Jason never went to the police. I wasn't surprised. Cowards rarely do the right thing when there's still breath in their lungs and a sliver of freedom left to lose. But what he didn't realize was, I had already prepared for this. On the third morning, the videos went out. Every file, every message, every second of footage I had, uploaded to a private drive and sent directly to the local police, Child Protective Services, my attorney, Alyssa's former employer, and yes, even the parents group at Emily's school. I didn't post it online. This wasn't about viral revenge. This was about targeted destruction. I didn't want to humiliate her for clicks. I wanted to ensure that neither of them could ever pretend to be innocent again. By noon, my phone was lighting up like a wildfire. The police called first. A detective thanked me for the evidence and informed me that they were issuing a warrant for Jason's arrest. Apparently, Jason had priors, nothing major, but enough that this sealed the coffin. They wanted to bring Alyssa in for questioning next. Then the school counselor messaged me. We are proud of you for protecting your daughter. Let us know how we can support her emotionally. Support. For her. Not Alyssa. That hit me harder than I expected. Emily came home from school with her earbuds in and dropped her bag by the door like always. But instead of going straight to her room, she sat beside me on the couch. Dad, she said. Yeah. She hesitated. Is Mom really not coming back? I looked into her eyes. So much like mine. But stronger. More grown than any 14-year-old should ever be. She won't be here anymore, I said gently. But you're safe now. And I'm not going anywhere. She nodded slowly. I think I always knew. I just didn't want it to be real. I wrapped my arm around her. For the first time in months, I felt her body relax. She leaned into me, and we just sat there. Not speaking. Not crying. Just existing. Together. Later that night, I got a final call from my lawyer. She's trying to strike a deal, he said. Alyssa wants to avoid jail. She's offering to give up all parental rights if you agree not to press charges. I paused. Tell her I want it in writing. No visitation. No contact. Nothing. And the charges? I stared out the window, watching the stars fade behind thick clouds. I don't care if she rots in a cell or in her own silence, I said. Let the system handle it. I'm done looking back. I hung up, walked into my bedroom, and finally, for the first time in what felt like years, slept through the night. No nightmares. No noise. Just quiet. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started writing. Not a rant. Not a rage post. Just the truth. I wrote about what happened. Not names, not exact details, but enough. Enough for any other man sitting in his kitchen wondering why his wife suddenly changed. Enough for any father who feels like something's wrong, but keeps convincing himself he's just paranoid. Enough for those who've been gaslit into silence. I ended the post with this. You are not weak for hurting. You are not crazy for noticing. You are not wrong for fighting back. If they burn your world down, build a better one from the ashes. Just never, ever, let them convince you it was your fault. It went viral in hours. Messages flooded in from people who'd lived through their own hells. Men, women, even teens who saw their parents in my story. And somewhere out there, I hoped Alyssa read it. Not because I wanted her to feel famous. Because I wanted her to feel forgotten. Her power over me, gone. Her lies, exposed. Her reign, finished. And me? I wasn't a broken man anymore. I was a father, a protector, and I had won.